Hey guys, so we're going to be focusing on brain function this week. So obviously we know how important our brains are. They're pretty much in control of everything that we do. So our emotions, our ability to problem solve, how we move, our motor skills, everything comes from the brain. So it's all the more important to why we need to maintain our brain function and our brain health. And this week we're going to be looking at sort of the different factors that might affect our brain health and what might cause it to deteriorate over time. So one of the main factors why our brain function and our brain health starts to deteriorate is because of aging. So as we age, our brain actually starts to shrink, and particularly after the age of 40, the frontal cortex, a part of the brain, can shrink by about 5% per decade. Another reason why we might start to our brain function might start to deteriorate is because of the neurotransmitters in our brains that those levels start to decline as well, particularly dopamine, which dopamine, you see low levels of dopamine in people with Parkinson's disease is because dopamine is in control of our mood and also our motor control as well. So people with Parkinson's, they tend to have mood swings, they tend to have difficulty with their movement as well. So that kind of explains that. Why do these levels decrease? They don't really know why, but they might say, what they're generally saying is that because the sort of communication between different parts of the brain starts to decline with age as well. Serotonin, another important neurotransmitter, which is really important for our calm and happy state. So if we have higher serotonin levels, then we generally tend to be happier. If we have lower serotonin levels, that's linked to depression and anxiety. So it's really important to keep these levels high. And we'll talk about how we might be able to keep these neurotransmitter levels at a decent or a healthy level later on. But for now, we're just kind of looking at the reasons why. One of the other reasons why potentially is because of increased oxidative stress, which comes from, kind of comes from our diet, which again, we'll talk about later, but potentially with this increased oxidative stress, it kind of leaves these substances called free radicals, which can sort of increase the risk of, first of all, it decreases our immune system, which can then increase the risk of disease later on. And anything in the brain, you're going to be looking at neurodegenerative diseases as well. So that's one of the first factors that we're looking at is aging. And again, we'll look at how we can improve these different things that might deteriorate with age. But hopefully that gives you a bit more guidance of why aging might cause the brain function to deteriorate. So one of the other factors that can potentially cause our brain function to deteriorate over time is our diet. So our brains are constantly working, so they need constant fuel, and that comes from the food that we eat. I mean, 90% of serotonin, that neurotransmitter that is pretty much causing our calm and unhappy mood, that's made in the gut. So it's really important what we're actually putting into our systems to fuel our brains. So one of the main culprits of causing brain function to decline is high sugar and high processed foods in our diet. It's just because the body just doesn't know how to digest so much sugar. It doesn't need that much sugar, so it won't digest this. This can cause more inflammation, more oxidative stress, and that can cause these things like depression, among other sort of non-brain related diseases as well. But if we start to reduce these amounts, then we can almost see that we start to lead sort of happier and more healthier lives, and our brain function can start to improve even just by taking these out as well. Supplements like probiotics can even help to boost mood. There's been studies done on people who take probiotics compared to people who don't, and their mood, their anxiety levels start to improve. So taking these high sugar, high processed foods out of our diet can really improve our brain function and make us lead happier lives as well. So there's also been a constant link between our brain function and our exercise levels or activity levels. And you know, when you think about it, when we exercise, when we do more aerobic exercise, so like running, swimming, cycling, those kind of things, we're getting more blood flow, not just to the body, but also to the brain as well. More blood flow equals more oxygen, equals more energy to the brain to function better. And there's been a link actually between, as we said, aging decreases the size of the brain. Regular consistent exercise can actually help to boost the size of the hippocampus, another part of the brain which can shrink with age. The hippocampus is involved in our memory. So if we can exercise regularly, then maybe we can start to improve our memory, and that will help to decrease the likelihood of dementia and those kind of sort of neurological diseases that you start to get in older age. So that's why exercise might be so important to help to counteract the effects of aging and help us actually feel younger. So when you improve the brain function, you actually feel younger, you feel better, and that will help to sort of keep the neurotransmitter levels high as well. So all the bad effects that aging comes with, if you exercise regularly, especially with the aerobic exercise, so like anything that gets your heart pumping, gets that cardiovascular working, that's going to help to improve your brain function. So that's why it's so important to exercise at least 3 or 4 times a week and get that blood flowing to the brain and more oxygen and more energy to the brain as well. So it may seem quite obvious, but the amount of alcohol and the amount of smoking cigarettes can also play a vital part on our brain function later down the line as well. So it had actually been widely accepted that moderate or low to moderate drinking of alcohol would be okay and not have a negative effect on brain function. But there's recently been some more longitudinal studies, so studies that have been over a longer period of time. They found that there is still a detrimental effect from even drinking a moderate amount, which they sort of categorize as 7 pints of beer, for example, a week is a moderate drinker, and that has negative effects later on. It can sort of shrink the hippocampus, so that's the memory sort of center of the brain. It can shrink that, and that can increase the risk of dementia and sort of memory related diseases as well. Smoking as well kind of goes without saying. There's nothing good coming from smoking, but the nicotine in cigarettes, that's the addictive part. That kind of mimics the role of the neurotransmitter dopamine, and that kind of affects our mood. So that's why we kind of get addicted to this nicotine hit, that good feeling that comes from every cigarette that we smoke. So if you're constantly doing that, your brain starts to not produce dopamine, and then that's when you only get dopamine when you smoke a cigarette, because it's the nicotine that's mimicking the dopamine itself. So obviously less alcohol and no smoking at all is really, really good. If you are a smoker, don't worry too much, because if you do quit, then the benefits will start to come back as well. As you start to go through those withdrawal symptoms of the nicotine and start to decrease the amount of nicotine you're having, and eventually get past that need for nicotine, then those dopamine levels can actually start to increase again. You probably have to couple that with regular exercise to help build those neurotransmitters back up and get that good feeling from exercise, but the brain will thank you later for it. So just to summarize what we can actually do to help improve brain function. So we spoke about exercise and diet as well. So reducing the amount of sugar that we have in our diet. That's why the keto diet is so popular at the moment, is because it reduces pretty much all sugar, or a lot of sugar in the diet. There's a lot of benefits sort of physically to keto diet, but also to brain function as well. There's been studies to kind of test people's brain function when they're on the keto diet, and their problem solving, that kind of thing, can improve as well. So reducing the amount of sugar, it does sound fairly straightforward, but that can help to improve your brain function. Also, we spoke about exercise, so more aerobic exercise. Strength training is important as well, but when you're talking just about brain function, getting out there, running, cycling, swimming, anything that's going to raise your heart rate is going to get more oxygen to the brain, and that's going to sort of help it function better, because it's getting that energy that it needs to fuel itself, basically. Also, we talked about obviously stopping smoking, reducing the amount of alcohol that you intake as well. That's going to really sort of get the brain to function a bit more normally again, and all of those things kind of counteract what aging is doing to us. So obviously we can't really stop aging, but we can slow the process of it with good exercise, with good diet, and with taking out the bad habits like drinking and smoking as well. There are some supplements that you can potentially take as well. They're saying that fatty acids in omega-3s or fish oils, those kind of things will help to sort of maintain the structure and the function of the brain. Resveratrol is a strong antioxidant, so that's going to sort of take away or stop the oxidative stress, which can cause the immune system to deteriorate. So resveratrol is found in grapes and strawberries and blueberries and red wine as well, but there needs to be more research on resveratrol supplements, because people don't know, or scientists don't know, how effective the supplement itself is. So have a look at that, but you wait for the research to come out first of all with that. We know that coffee, the caffeine in tea and coffee, that can help to boost our alertness and our sort of focus as well. But just make sure that you're not drinking too much coffee, too much tea, not getting too much caffeine, because that can cause sort of an overstimulation of the brain as well. So I hope all of that helps us to help you maintain your sort of brain function, help to improve it. We'll keep looking at other things as well that may help to sort of improve the brain function, brain health. But if you start with the amount of exercise you're getting, the amount of diet, the correct diet that you're getting as well, sleep is important, and sort of reducing your alcohol intake, no smoking, all of that combination of things will help to sort of maintain that brain function, and going forwards from there, making sure that you don't start to get these sort of neurological diseases as time goes on as well. Okay guys, so just to summarize about everything, because we covered a lot, and so to improve brain function, to improve brain health and maintain how your brain functions over your lifespan, first thing, take care of your diet, make sure you're reducing the amount of sugar in your diet. A ketogenic diet is a good place to start. That's reducing the amount of carbs, sugars in your diet, and having more fats and protein as well. They have done studies on people who are following the keto diet who have increased brain health as well. So that's a great place to start for that. Also, increasing the amount of exercise that you do, particularly with the aerobic exercise, so that's your swimming, your running, cycling, those kind of things that help to get the blood pumping more blood flow to the brain. That's going to equal more oxygen, more energy to the brain, and help it fuel better. So we've got exercise, we've got diet, also reducing the amount obviously that you're drinking, no smoking as well. That's going to help to not add on to the effects of aging. We can't stop aging, but with the exercise and with the right diet, we can slow the process of aging as well. And then also make sure you're getting enough sleep. That helps to sort of rest the brain and get it functioning properly, and then it makes you feel more alert as well. We did also talk about supplements. There needs to be more research on that, but you can start to play around with having a little bit of coffee, a little bit of caffeine in your body just to keep you more alert, keep you more focused, but not too much. Resveratrol, that can be found in grapes, can be found in blueberries, raspberries, those kind of things. And then we also talked about sort of fatty acids, omega-3, and that, which helps to maintain the structure and the function of the brain. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a little bit of a basis to help improve your brain function, and make sure that you have a healthy brain for the rest of your life.